Hi folks, this is going to be the first of a three-part video I think on open tuning, on open G tuning I should say. This part of the video we're going to look at how to tune the guitar into open G in the first place, what effect that has on the relationships between the strings. We'll have a look at the G major scale, because I presume if we're playing in open G tuning that we're going to play in G major. It would make sense. So we'll take a delve into that and we'll see what chords we can build from there. And we'll also have a look at the scales. So if I bring up this image here, this bit of pizza has been cut into 12 slices. Each slice represents a semitone. So 12 slices, 12 semitones. For those of you not sure what a semitone is one fret on your guitar. Showing it in the graphic it just gives me a nice visual way to see it, and I can see the pattern a lot clearer that way. You don't have to do it that way. It works for me, so that's what I use. So the major scale pattern is based on semitones. So like all the white notes on your piano keyboard, for instance, would all be in C major. But it means you're missing some notes out. So there's 7 notes within the scale. We've got 7 semitones to choose from to play any of those notes. So how do we know which ones to play? Well, it always follows the same pattern. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and then you're back to the start. So that's your 7 notes. So when we build chords in any key, they're based off the major scale. So there are seven triads we can build. Triad's just another name for a chord that's got 3 notes in it, that's all. And all chords are based on 3 notes. So even though we play 6 strings, usually we're doubling up on usually the root and the 5th. Sometimes both. The triads are made of 3 notes that are all 3 notes apart from the scale. The root, 3rd and 5th notes of any major scale will give you the first major chord in that scale. The 2nd, 4th and 6th will give you the second chord in that scale. It happens to be a minor, and that's known as the 2 chords. So the first one, the root, 3rd and 5th, was the 1 chord. The 2 chord is the 2, 4 and 6, so the 2nd, 4th and 6th notes, so the A, C and E gives us an A minor chord, so that's a 2 chord. The 3 chord is the 3, 5 and 7, which gives us a B, a D and an F sharp. That's a B minor. The 4th chord, we start on the 4th note of the scale. We count around 3 notes. We take every 3rd note from there. We get 4, 6 and root, and that gives us C, E and G. And that's a major chord, so it's C major. The 5 chord starts on the 5th, which is a D, includes the 7th, which is an F sharp, and the 2nd, which is an A, because we just keep going round and round the circle until we've built all 7 chords. So that's a D major. The 6th chord starts on the 6th, includes the root and the 3rd. Again, we've come past the root and we're going back round again. And that is an E, G and a B, and that's an E minor chord that creates. And then the 7th chord, 7, 2 and 4, which creates an F sharp, A and C, gives us an F sharp diminished chord. Now, major chords is just a root 3, 5. A minor chord is a root flat 3rd and a 5th, and a diminished chord has a flattened 3rd and a flattened 5th. And in the key of G, which is what we're looking at, that works out as A, G being the root, A being the 2nd chord, B being the 3rd chord, C being the 4th chord, D being the 5th chord, E being the 6th chord, and F sharp being the 7th chord. But that doesn't tell us whether they're majors or minors. All we know is it's going to be a D. So there is a pattern to it, and it always works out the same. So it doesn't matter what key you're playing in. The 1 chord is always going to be major. The 2 and 3 chords will always be minor. The 4 and 5 chord will always be major. The 6th chord will always be minor. The 7th chord will always be diminished. And then you're back to the root chord again. In part 2, I'll show you I'll be able to prove that for you as we build those chords. We'll look at them in each in the context of their own key, and it'll all make sense. If we tune our guitars to open G, we'll see that our 6th string is dropped down a full tone from E to D. Our 5th string has dropped down a full tone from A to G. Our 4th, 3rd and 2nd strings have all stayed exactly as they were, and our 1st string has also dropped down to a D. The effect that's had on the guitar means that between our 6th and 5th strings we've still got a gap of 5 frets, i.e. on the 6th string, the 6th string is fretted 5 frets higher than the open G string to get the same note, the open 5th string. So that's as it was in standard tuning, because both notes have dropped by the same amount. But because the 4th string hasn't dropped, it's had the effect of extending that gap between the 5th and the 4th strings. So that's now 7 semitones apart. The 4th and 3rd strings haven't changed, so they're still at 5, and the 3rd and 2nd strings haven't changed. They were at 4 in standard tuning, they're still at 4 here. But the high E string has also changed, it has dropped down, so it's come closer to the 2nd string than standard tuning, so that's actually now on the 3rd fret. So our gaps between the strings: 5 frets, 7 frets, 5 frets, 4 frets, 3 frets. Okay, you might be wondering, why am I bothering showing you that? It's obvious. Well, it makes a difference when you're playing your scale patterns or your chord shapes or anything. You need to, or even just, if you're doing a run on your 5th string that needs to cross over to your 4th string, you need to know that that note is not where it would have been before it's moved, so you have to account for it. So you need to be aware of it, really, that's all it is. So if we pull up the scales, I've marked up on a copy of this fretboard here, I've marked up everywhere, I've marked up the G major scale the whole way up this guitar neck, so every string from the 0 to 12 frets where it starts to repeat. You can see it creates a pattern. Now I'm not going to go into, like, within certain guitar systems, teaching systems, they chop things down into like 5 different positions for playing finger pattern scales. I'm not going to do that with Open G. I'm just going to show you the full thing. I always think it's better to see the whole pattern rather than just a small window and thinking that's it. I think I was playing for 2 or 3 years knowing one pattern and didn't realize that there were 4 more. If you see the whole thing in a one, then it's up to you how you want to chop it up. So that's why I'm showing you it like that. Personally, I don't practice scales. I'd rather practice songs and melodies, play melodies. So I would build my melodies off a scale like that, no problem at all. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, that's all very well and good, but the major scale, I don't really play the major scale. It's pretty boring. For melodies, I'd like to play minors or pentatonics or whatever. Okay, well, you can. There's no problem with that. The way I do it is I take the major scale, I learn the major scale, and then I learn the difference between the major and the other scale, whatever other scale I want to play. So, for instance, the natural minor scale, the difference is that the 3rd, the 6th and the 7th in the major scale are flattened. So if you stick to that major scale pattern, wherever you would play a 3rd, the 6th or the 7th, drop it by 1 fret. If you do that, you've just played the natural minor scale. There are 3 minor scales, by the way. I'm only showing the natural minor here. There's natural, melodic and harmonic. For the pentatonic scale, just don't play the 4th or the 7th. Just drop those 2 notes out. It's a 5-note scale rather than a 7-note scale, and that's the difference between the 2. For the minor pentatonic scale, we're going to drop the 2nd and the 6th, so it reduces to 5 notes, and we're going to flatten the 3rd and the 7th. That creates the minor pentatonic. Interestingly enough, if you put the 2 scales side by side, either major and minor pentatonics, or the major scale and the natural minor scale together, you'll see that the pattern looks very similar. It's just moved. It's exactly the same pattern. It's just moved up by 3 frets, or down by 3 frets, whichever way you want to look at it. There's a difference of 3 frets between the two patterns. So really, you could say, okay, G major scale, I'll learn my major scale. Now I want to play a natural minor scale. Well, I can play exact same patterns. I just move them up by 3 frets, and that solves my problem. Same with a pentatonic. If I want to play a major pentatonic scale, so I'll go to my major scale, drop the 4th and the 7th, and then I want to go minor pentatonic. I'll move that shape, the finger shape that I'm playing, move it up 3 frets, and I'm also automatically then playing in the minor pentatonic scale. So dead simple. Nice little cheat codes. That's the way I look at it, as a cheat code. That feels like a good place to stop for part 1. In parts 2 and 3, we'll look deeper into the chords themselves, give us some options of different places we can play them and different variations of the chords that we can create as well by extending them. So thanks very much for watching. Cheers folks. Bye bye.